Hi, everyone. Thanks for holding for a sec, and welcome back to the Tex-Trek first reaction streams. Um, this is this is the first time we're doing it for Discovery because Discovery's been gone for so long. Like it's been over a year, like well over a year, right? Since
It's
we've
been
gotten new
2 years.
Discovery. I think, yeah, that's bizarre. But if you guys want to introduce yourselves.
Hey, I'm Braxton.
Hello, I'm Stanley.
Hi, and yeah, I'm Rachel. And thanks for joining us. I guess first things first, what did you guys think of these first two episodes so far?
So I only watched an episode and a half,
Mm-hmm.
but the first episode, I was smiling so much, and it felt so good. It's actually very cold here, and it's rainy. And watching the first episode of Disco Being Back season 5, episode 1 was like a warm cup of cocoa. Like it was like fun to catch up with people. Like I was like seeing Michael, and she was like rocking the cornrow braids. Like I saw Owo, and like her braids were looking beautiful. Like Detmer was looking amazing. Um, like it was cool to like see Culber and Stamets. Um, this episode made me feel really good. I thought the action was great. I thought that the visual quality was really high. Like I actually it actually felt like a movie to me. Now, I should tell you that, I watch it with commercials. So the 56-minute show took me like an hour and 20 minutes. So it was like watching a movie. But like, I don't know, I just felt that, it felt like a big story, and
Mm-hmm.
the production quality was just like very high. Like the sandstorm, like rock slide was just amazing. you
Yeah.
know um Michael Burnham like surfing on the ship, like when the episode started, like I was like, who is that? I was like, is that the Silver Surfer? And then like it started going further in, and then you saw it was Michael. And it's like, and I was like, oh, like how's she doing that? And then like later she was like, oh my god, like I'm surprised I'm still alive. And I was like, yeah, I am too. But my reaction to especially the first episode is really positive. Like it was just great to catch up with the crew. I thought the story was good. um I loved it.
uh, Stan.
I also loved it. I thought, Discovery goes through a revamp like every season
Mm-hmm.
for various reasons we've all talked about ad nauseum. But um, also, hopefully, my volume is better for folks in the audience.
I
I've
know it's
had
just for
nothing
yeah.
but microphone issues.
Stan's had having some mic issues that we're.
Yes. Um, But yeah, I love the episode. I thought it was a really great kickoff for the season. They gave us the mystery up front rather than drawing it out, so
Mm-hmm.
we know roughly what we're going for. I'm going to make this silly pun later, but they cut to the chase. Haha! TNG episode reference.
Yeah.
Um, and like they let us know up front, like, oh, this is what we're going after this season, and now we just get to enjoy the ride. And I agree with Braxton. The visuals are stunning. Um, got a lot of really cool 32nd century tech. I think they're doing a better job this season already of filling out the universe that is the 32nd century. Because I've been wondering ever since they got there, like,
I
what do all
agree.
these other planets look like? And so it was really cool to fill that in. We see more about what programmable matter can do. We're getting more from Federation headquarters. Um, I do I do have minor quibbles. Like I want to know what exactly is a red directive, what makes it different than other things, that kind of thing. Like they reference it a few times, and
Yeah.
Captain Rayner mentions he's done 7 of them. So like what exactly does that mean? Let's fill in that bit, hopefully. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far. And we got another android, which is adorable. May he
Fred. Poor
rest.
Fred.
Yeah.
I immediately was like, oh, Fred. Like, that was my entire. I
He did
also
not haggle well though. Like 3 bars of
no,
Latinum is not I mean, the interest alone from when we saw Latinum in Deep Space Nine, 3 bars is not much.
no. I was like, is Latinum worth less now? Like, or more now? That like, I I also really like the episode. I don't know if I'm like a big fan of like Indiana Jones, like National Treasure type stories where it's like, yeah, let's follow a convoluted like mystery, and I'm like, hell yeah, that's like what we seem to be, and I think especially because we know these characters so well, I think it's really fun to watch them on like a weird adventure road trip, like, um, and yeah, I think I would be if they had tried to do this in earlier seasons, I would have been like, I want to get to know the characters better. But we're like 5 seasons in. I feel like I know the characters pretty well at this point, and I um love that. And I do love that, like, to me at least, all the ways that we're bringing back characters that like aren't necessarily on Discovery as much anymore, they all like made sense. They were like doing a job, like it wasn't just like, it wasn't just Worf being like, I'm on the Enterprise for some reason, even though I'm stationed on Deep Space Nine during this movie.
I also loved that. I wish. Again, I think they Disco does a really good job of recognizing concerns from the fandom and adjusting. Sometimes too much, sometimes too little, etc. I'm torn on how I feel about that in general. I think our fandom is a little much in a lot of ways, but something that I did appreciate about it in this episode was the main characters didn't feel out of place with a bunch of other characters that we see all the time. I'm not saying this well. If they had done throughout Discovery what they did in this episode with the insular or the auxiliary characters, I don't think we would have had seasons of, well, what's Owo's deal? What's Detmer's deal? Yeah. Like, we saw Owushikun and Reese do an away mission, but then they weren't the only ones at the console. Like, this episode made it really clear. These people over here are our main characters. These people are on the ship, but they're not the only ones on the ship. And so I think I wish they would give us more from those characters we've had thus far. But if they had been operating this way the entire time, I think that it does a much better job of showcasing this isn't a bridge crew show. This is a Burnham, Saru, and some other show, that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean, and I felt like they are doing a really good job bringing in the like other like Vance. Here's the thing: I always forget that the person who was on the mission with them. I always forget his name.
Ooh.
Oh, Dr. Kovich.
Yes, Dr. Kovich and President Rillick, and I was like, oh yeah, they're coming in ways that seem natural, like. Yeah, the president would be concerned about like this mission that went really badly. Like it made sense for her to like be there all of a sudden. Or, I do love. We were concerned because Vance had not been in like any material, like promo material, and then I was like, oh no, there he is. Okay, cool. Like, although every time he's like just like such a good admiral, I'm always like, remember when we were all convinced this guy was evil? Like. Like,
I'm gonna steal a Sohailism. I have an episode husband, Lieutenant Jax, who apparently we didn't he didn't get named in the episode, but the
one with Tilly.
With Tilly, yeah.
Oh, I was about to ask if that was because
he's totally gay. She needs to stop like barking up that tree. I could tell.
Can I? You know what? Because I use StreamYard as well. If you wouldn't mind, I can I threw it up in the just this first slide. So this is for the salon later. Shameless plug, sorry, but on point is
that is a really good picture of him.
Mm-hmm.
He is gorgeous. His eyes, my goodness. I'm gonna it's the thirst is going to be thick on the salon. I'll just say that.
So I noticed, and I was immediately like, "Is this Tilly's new love interest?" Because I was like, "I'm down," because I want to see more of this. Although he was like so cute that I was like, either he's gonna turn out to be evil, or they're setting him up and he's gonna be on the academy, and there was like no in between.
So,
Like
they finally
hope so,
confirmed
too.
that Academy is 32nd Century. They've been
Yeah.
telegraphing that Tilly's going to be part of it. It would be weird if she wasn't, given that she teaches there, unless she dies in this season, and I hope not. So yeah, I hope this is. I hope that they're weaving in some stuff for Academy.
Yeah.
So
Rainer
who's
is also
he's handsome. You can have him though, Jill.
he's handsome. I get it. That's
who's the other captain?
Rainer.
What's his name? Rainer.
And I was a little like worried where they were going with Rainer in the first episode, but I really liked where they ended up with him in the second episode. So I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense what they were. Sorry, Braxton, because you didn't finish the last episode.
I called it as soon as they had that tribunal. I was like, I see what's happening.
I was starting to, as soon as they said like, oh, he's gonna retire, I was like, no, he's not. Like, that's not gonna be. Why would they set up this new character like this?
Rainer's pretty badass. I like Rainer.
Yeah, I was.
He means well. Like, he's like an old soldier.
No, I
like,
think he
I've
was
been
a
doing
good
this for
character.
30 years. And they're like, times have changed. And he's like, no, they haven't.
He's a good character. And I don't think this is like a reaction thing. I think I've noticed this a lot with Star Trek shows where he was reminding me a little bit too much of Shaw at first. Where I was like, and I think it's a thing where the Star Trek shows is that the creators will have the same ideas at the same time. And I don't think they're affected by each other. It's just like a communal thinking that's happening.
Well, having a not necessarily antagonist in the traditional sense of the word for the story, but an antagonizing force for our characters to ping pong off of.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it's interesting you said Captain Shaw. He reminded me more of Lorca from season 1.
Oh, I could see that too.
Totally.
I did write. She's like, he's the person I've hated the most in 900 years. I remember thinking, Lorca, you didn't hate Lorca. Like, Lorca.
You know, so did I hear this right? Like, did Saru say to Michael that she was like a forest fire? Did I mishear that?
Force.
Yeah, I think just a force. I don't think.
I totally
Which means sure, same.
Only you can
Dude,
stop. Like, only you can prevent forest fires.
like, I don't know how I heard that, but like, I don't know. Maybe I was just like,
I have to watch with subtitles on for most things I watch.
I was like, whoa, is that like a compliment? Like, if someone tells you that you're like a forest fire, I feel like that means that you're like extremely destructive and like you could kill a lot of people.
Although I've been watching a lot of a British show called Taskmaster recently, and it was kind of watching Discovery. I was like, oh, it's actually I can understand all these American accents so much easier than a bunch of British comedians. I'm really interested to see like what Saru's up to for the rest of the season, though. If he's not,
I mean, I guess Saru's not really gonna. Well, I mean, it seems like he's just gonna like go off the show and like get married. I was happy that maybe Doug Jones wouldn't have to get in the makeup anymore.
I think Doug Jones is still a main character, so I don't think that's the case. I mean, I am happy there as a romance reader, romantic at heart. Good for you, Saru. You two are cute. Have a happy marriage. But also, I have not seen The Ready Room yet, Jill. Because I have been busy. But I still need to watch it. So maybe.
I think it's probably gonna be. I feel like there's gonna be less of him, but I like the trajectory that he's on because I'm hopeful. We've talked about this on the salon about season 4. The world building of how the Federation works in season 4 was wonky. Like that, the weird, like what floor do you get to be on in this meeting, and why does a captain get to vote? But I'm hopeful in this season making Saru an ambassador speaking for a smaller group of planets, which is a really interesting thing. Like once the Federation gets to be a bigger size, like we need to do things differently. It's not just going to be one planet, one vote. So I'm
I
excited to
like
see.
that as well because it also makes sense for the Federation is big, but also I'm assuming still probably doesn't have as many bodies as it used to like send an ambassador. So it makes sense to me that they would need one ambassador to serve a bunch of different planets. Like,
Yeah,
um,
and hopefully like they explain how they're grouped. Like he's
yeah.
representing resource poor planets
I
or
was wondering if it's
a
gonna be
certain
like that,
sector.
or if I was thinking it was gonna be like there's a group of small worlds that are all kind of close to each other, and he's gonna represent them or something like that.
I will say
Oh,
one thing that is
this a very good
one
question, Jill. Can you imagine if the ambassador, your ambassador, showed up there 7 foot tall?
yeah. Oh, sweet, sweet Saru, yeah. But he is imposing for sure.
Yeah.
Um, one thing I was thinking about with the like I said earlier, Discovery is beautiful, but something that I think is a downside to the cinematicness of new Trek shows, this new era of Trek shows, is it does eat into budget for a lot of things. Like the Antares is a really cool looking ship. I love that Disco has their first kit bash of their own ships because it's a
Yeah.
different saucer and nacelles
Mm-hmm.
than we saw for either of those components in the past. But like just hearing Captain Rayner rather than seeing like in 90s Trek, there would be a redress of some other set and you would see what the bridge looked like. But now the sets
Yeah.
are so expensive, they can't do that kind of thing. And that's something that I miss from older Trek is giving us a visual. Like I really want to see what a 32nd century bridge looks like.
Hmm. Hmm. The
Yeah,
bridge
that makes
of
sense.
Discovery looked so big. I mean, maybe it's been just a couple of years since I've watched it because I didn't watch any Discovery before I started watching these episodes. But like
I
the bridge looks so big. It looks so spacious.
I think the bridge has always been pretty massive. Like,
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's for filming. It's because
yeah.
the camera, not only the cameras being huge, but the way that I've watched way too many behind the scenes interviews, so I can talk about this a little bit. They did in some of their early research. They knew they needed to go more cinematic because this is going to be paid streaming. Like it
Yeah.
needs to look like a movie. That's always been their mandate. But also, they talked with people who had worked on previous Trek shows. Like apparently, my buddy Will just reminded me of this the other day. Voyager was apparently very hard to film in the engineering set because of the way that the staircases were built. And so Discovery's bridge being massive is really just a matter of being able to film at any point that they want to film.
It's funny, I'd never heard that particular thing before, but there are some shots of like in the engineering room in Voyager where I was like, that looks awkward. Like the way they're standing, the way they're like. And it also, I think the bridges have to be filmed like cinematically, but also everything's widescreen now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's why in 90s Trek,
Yeah.
everybody was so fucking close to each other.
Everyone looks like they're about to kiss in 90s Trek. I like.
I hate close talkers so much. And when I'm watching stuff, I always have Pluto on in the background. Deep Space Nine was much better about it, but Voyager again, apparently because of their sets, like the bridge was fine, but it was definitely engineering, and the ready room was too small for them, and so that's why like Harry Kim comes up to B'Elanna, hey, why are you so upset right now? Goodness, so close.
There are definitely Star Trek ships as in relationships built just on the fact that those actors had to speak so close to each other that I was like, that ends up looking romantic if you're standing that close to another person. Like, that's just gonna, especially as I've shown people older Trek and they're like, are they supposed to be into each other? I'm like, not at all. Like,
they're all banging, but not into each other.
So people are different about personal space. I mean, I feel like people at work stand really close to me. Like I don't know, it's just weird. Like I
No,
prefer
not
like
at
people to
my.
stand
No
like
way.
2.5 feet away from me.
I don't know.
And
Although people at my when I go into the office have been doing weird shit. I made like a. I'm pretty sure I tweeted about this the other day. I went into my office and someone was listening to a true crime podcast out loud in the stall.
Absolutely not.
Like, and by the way, the subject matter, it was true crime. The subject matter was like disturbing for true crime.
mm,
So,
mm.
and I was
People are
like,
just
"What the?" I was like, "I'm
inappropriate.
at work," and I was like, I was listening to a comedy podcast, but I had my headphones on because
His
so I was like,
arm was cut off. His fingers were cut off.
I,
His leg was cut off.
I was just gonna
Mm,
say the victim were children.
Oh,
Yeah,
mm.
that's what, and I didn't hear most of it. But the thing is, I think she noticed someone had come in and then changed it to something else. But I was like, turn it off.
yeah.
Like I now
Are
just
you her
getting on.
manager?
No, I don't know who it was.
Okay.
So I kind of saw it, but it's a lot of different teams in one office. So
Yeah.
I might not even work at all with this person.
Mm.
I am very thankful I work from home for those reasons. Like
I work I hybrid, but I don't go in the office that often.
the only thing that I think I miss out by not being at my office, which it is on the other side of the country from me. And I am not moving. I refuse. But the only thing that I miss is some gossip. But I'm more productive at home, and I'm also a union delegate, so I get gossip that way. It stays confidential, but
yeah.
we
Dan,
get.
you would, or did Dan, Stan, you would like living in DC.
I feel like my dating life might be a little bit better because of the I work for a nonprofit, and what you do for work matters in the community there.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to. I don't want every first date to be, so what do you do for a living, as a way of evaluating whether or not I'm worth someone's time.
Mm.
I
That's
love
very
my
DC. Yeah.
I love my job. I do. Like I work for the Human Rights Campaign. We do great work, but I have also matured in my thinking around work. And while I am very lucky to not work for a corporation making money for someone else, I actually get to do good stuff to help people. But work is work. My job funds my life. It is not my life. And
I know. It's funny because people are like, "You like your job," and I was like, "Oh, I have a good manager who doesn't like overwhelm me with work." That's what that is. My work is not creatively fulfilling. I'm a Google contractor. Like I'm not getting creatively fulfilled. This is what I'm doing for like fun.
yeah, same. I look at spreadsheets all day and then wait to talk about Star Trek or do improv. Those are my creative hobbies are critical.
Yep. I'm just like sitting there, and then I also, part of my job is I help other people when they need help, and if they don't need help, I can do whatever I want.
So I have a question. So how can Book possibly be Michael's first officer? Like he's not in Starfleet, and I thought that he also had some criminal charges.
It feels like they're setting him up for it, right? Someone else clocked that too. It feels like they're setting him up to be like
they're going to set him up.
Field commission.
Not currently.
Yeah.
To be fair, though, Michael also.
Right.
I think it's going to parallel Michael's journey.
And then your boyfriend cannot be your first officer.
Well, they fully broke up.
I thought they were having a moment at the end of the first episode.
Oh, that was a breakup.
I was also a little like I could use a little more clarity on whether that was a breakup or not.
I'm actually very close to that scene. Whenever I do these streams, I have it on in the background, and I'm actually very close to that scene.
Dude, like, you know what the thing is, but I'm still feeling a lot of chemistry.
For the record, I don't think you should work for your ex either.
Right. Well,
I'm still feeling too much chemistry, dude.
Especially if it was like,
this is Michael. This is Book. It's weird. I'm not sure how to be around you anymore. Book is about to say something along the lines of, "Are we saying what we think we're saying?" But it's Discovery, so they're going to take a moment to let it land.
Yeah.
Some things are hard to move past for both of us. Sure. Maybe we haven't wanted to say that out loud. Book. Are we saying it now? Michael. I think we are. Yeah. I take that as a breakup.
Maybe I just can't tell when Star Trek characters are broken up because I could not tell that Seven and Raffi were actually broken up by that, like, my girlfriend left me, and I was like, I assumed that was part of her cover. I also like the idea of him being Pierce in Community in the Academy. That's very funny.
Yeah.
I also could see them having a second chance romance, if you will.
Yeah. I feel like one of two things is going to happen. Either they're going to get back together, or he's going to get a field commission, end up being like, oh, we don't make sense as lovers anymore, but we make a great team, just like when we were couriers. You should be my first officer because Commander Rayner is probably going to die heroically, right?
I mean, if like we're going off my idea that he'll somehow accidentally end up like Shaw,
or retire. He might actually be like, I got my second chance.
He's got white hair. He seems like he could be old enough.
Yeah.
It's like although it's one of those things. I feel like when someone has completely white hair, I sometimes can't tell if they're like sometimes I feel like that ages people more. That I'm like, you might not be as old as I think.
Yes. As somebody who is regularly assumed to be older than I am, and I have been forever. When I was 18, people thought I was 23, and back then I was like, oh, this is going to be great for only a little bit longer. Somebody the other day actually asked. Somebody the other day I ran into when I was getting coffee, and after catching up, they were like, "Oh, I'm so glad I ran into you. I just wrote something with a gay character, and I need a sensitivity read." And I was like, "Oh, cool." And then he says, "Yeah, I really need an older gay man's perspective." To which I said, "Oh, so you want me to introduce you to an older gay man then?" And then we just sort of stared at each other, waiting for the sun to implode.
Damn,
I don't know that I am often assumed to be younger than I am, and in corporate, and as somebody who works in corporate America as a woman, not always great.
Yeah.
Or I did wear a mask at this time because of when it was. I was working at Home Goods when I was like 28, and people regularly thought I was like a teenager, and it was someone tried to mansplain credit scores to me, and I was like, I have a good credit scores, please stop.
But Stan, it's the white hair and your beard. That's what it is.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna start dyeing my beard again.
But yes, gray hair and white hair does age you.
I'm 30. I saw my first gray hair the other day, and I was like, oh, this is new. Although I like touched it, like it just came out immediately, and I was like, oh, that was weird.
Oh, but thinking about a silver fox, I felt like the other captain was very handsome. Like I really liked.
Yeah, no, he definitely had a silver fox thing going on.
Oh, he could get it for sure. Discovery
was he actually like 63? Okay, so he was about the age I thought he was then.
He is right about Discovery. It is a beautiful ship. I hated it when I first saw it. It's really grown on me, especially the Tron version in the 32nd Century reset.
I'm not realizing you're saying the ship Discovery is a beautiful ship. For a second, I thought you were going to say like the cast is just hot. Like,
well, also that.
And I was like,
oh my god, all of them. Like I'm as gay as they come, but all of the women are gorgeous.
Genuinely, they're all very attractive people.
Yeah, they have a very attractive cast. Like
even Saru is
really beautiful. Owo is so pretty. Detmer's so pretty.
See, even they have like an admiral show up, and I'm still like, why is he so attractive? Like,
do you have to be hot to be on this show? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree, Father. I think you would look cool with like gray in your beard.
Adira's cute. Adira is not hot. She's cute.
Adira is cute. I think Adira is just too young for me to like consider hot.
They've also grown on me. At first, I found them very annoying, but also I recognized I was also a an awkward buzz cut teenager, and so I think I was just projecting my own feelings about my teenage years onto Adira.
Mm-hmm.
But so far this season, and like we'll see where it goes, but
yeah.
So far this season, I think they're adding a lot to the show without being as distracting as they were with season 4.
Yeah, I could see that. I wonder if maybe they're having, because of having less episodes, they're having to like streamline it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just we haven't talked about Mal or Locke at all, and I thought they were both really cool, and I thought they
Yes.
also had like cool, like good chemistry for.
Yeah, very different villains than we've seen in Discovery. I like that we're getting like they're not mustache twirly, but they're also
like
not.
a little
They're getting fleshed out.
Like vigilante is probably not the right word.
And I like that
mercenary is probably.
I like that Elias is back. You know, he was in episode 3. He was one of the prisoners that was on the shuttle with Michael going to Discovery, and so it's cool to have him back in a larger role.
The young lady who is like a part of the the duo, she reminds me of a young lady who was in the Ahsoka show, who was fighting uh gosh, I can't even think of the girl's name that she was fighting. Sabine Wren. You know, the girl.
Oh yeah, the haircut. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, have I seen her before? I've definitely seen this haircut, this like platinum blonde, like little short thing. Mm-hmm. And then I feel like that city that they were in kind of had like a Star Wars like city kind of feel. Everything's like real dusty. You're like wearing like robes.
I feel like just because Star Wars has so much of like the back alley city thing, that every time Star Trek does that, it feels a little Star Wars.
Yeah, I have to respectfully push a little bit back, just because I think that's it. Star Wars is just so iconic. You see a bar in a desert, and you think Mos Eisley. You see a circular device, you think thermal grenade. Like grenades have existed, like bars have existed, but I get where you're coming from though, for sure.
But yeah, like it'll be interesting to see what species her boyfriend is. They were like, oh, like we don't know what he is. I was like, oh wow, this far in the future, and you've not discovered all the species yet. I just thought that was really interesting.
That is cool. I kind of see it. That looks a little like Chapel.
Yeah. All right, friends, I've got to dip out and take my dog out before the salon. Again, shameless plug at 6:30 p.m. Pacific at Salon Trek here on YouTube. Hope to see you all in the chat there as well. Thanks for having me very much.
Stan, it was nice to see you.
Always a pleasure. LLAP. Bye.
What if this question regarding a symbiote make an even more of an introvert? Oh, I could see that. Like you're never really alone if you have a symbiote.
Hold on. So Adira has a symbiote?
Yeah.
Okay, so it seems like I remember like Gray, something happened to Gray, like it needed to go into a somebody. But Adira's not a Trill.
No, which is why they had that whole thing where they had to like bring them to Trill, which is why they lost their memories, because like the thing went a little wonky.
Okay.
And then they bring them to Trill, and then this is season 3. God, it's been a second.
So Adira's had a symbiote for like more than a season?
Yes. Oh, basically the entire time we've seen Adira.
Oh wow.
It was Gray died right after getting the symbiote, and they put the symbiote in Adira to keep them safe.
Oh. And I'm sure it's contributing to her intelligence, even though she was already intelligent.
Yes. Oh, I'm sure. Well, I think they even said like they started playing it was a stringed instrument. I can't remember what now. But they were like, oh, I never did this before. This is like the symbiote doing this.
Oh wow. Would you want a symbiote if you could have one?
I don't know. Having more memories, I guess, would be cool. Although I have a pretty decent, like, how would having a symbiote plus ADHD work? I worry that would just make it worse. That like too many thoughts are already. My brain does not turn off. What would I do with like 7 other people's memories?
mm, mm. You know,
Like,
a thing that I think of this episode, like after this episode, like after I watched the first episode, like
mhm.
I just kept thinking about those skeletal remains that they found. You know, like
Oh yeah,
the Romulan, like who was like, well, actually, it wasn't skeletal remains. It was like a mummified.
it was like
Ro-
mummified, and I was like,
Yeah, I was like,
oh,
oh, like, was there like no oxygen in the room for like a long period of time? Like, how did the
maybe.
body not decompose? I was like, how are those not skeletal
I'm gonna blame
remains?
it on the Romulans' weird black sun or black hole they use to power their ships, because
Mm,
that's always wild to me.
mm,
What is
mm,
ADHD Trill? You just
mm.
described a personal hell. Yeah, exactly. I don't know that it would be a good match. Like,
I
I
loved
already.
hearing Black Alert again. I
Oh,
missed
that's
that.
always good.
Black
A
Alert.
true fact about me is I have to listen to something like a podcast or like episode of TV when I fall asleep to like listen to that because my brain doesn't turn off. So like if I just listen to my own thoughts, I'll like worry about what's going to happen the next day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know that I need 7 other people's anxieties for that.
Mm-mm, mm-mm. No, that's a lot.
I can see that for Esri. That is a very good question, Joel. Did the Romulan shoulder pads decompose? I
Mm.
hope they're just still there mummified and people are somewhere there judging the hell out of them. Garrick somehow comes back from. Well, I'm not. I'm assuming at the time that Discovery takes place, Garrick is dead, just
Mm,
from sheer time. But
mhm.
he will come back as a ghost to judge
I
the
mean,
hell out of the shoulder
like
pads.
I feel like we're dealing with like long periods of time in
Mm-hmm.
these episodes. Like, you know, Fred, was like
Yeah,
600 and some odd years old. Like, what, like
it
the
was.
artifact that they were looking at was like, or like the book was like 800 years old. Like, man, I was like, oh wow, like look at Discovery. Like Michael was like, ooh, like that dude, he's like the worst person that I've met in like 920 years.
I was like, oh yeah, Pop. I also, speaking of Fred, that guy did such a good job, like being like, oh, I know exactly what you're going for without feeling like he was doing just a Data impression.
Hmm.
I was just like, oh,
Hmm.
he's assuming Android, but he's not
Hmm.
Data. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Like I immediately got what he was doing,
I was
which I feel
totally
like is
mhm.
hard.
Yeah, 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 totally.
But I did have a thought when they were like, oh yeah, the AS for Soong. They're like, it's still like they're remembering into the future is uh Paul's dealing with his existential crisis. But I was like, Soong's just gonna be mad this one doesn't have his face. Like,
Yes.
like
Like he's like, why doesn't it have my face? Why doesn't it look like me?
yeah.
Like, yeah. But he was like, oh yeah, like what a legacy.
Paul,
All these
which
hundreds of years
comet
later.
did we think Burnham was referring to Spock with? Because like that
Hmm. I don't
naming him
I don't
Fred
remember that.
made him. Oh yeah, because Fred Burkle. Burke. It's been a long time since I watched Angel. Um, but yeah, I was very sad Fred died because I liked him a lot. Like I was like, he's fun. Oh, bye.
See, the thing is, like, he would have lived if he wasn't trying to swindle people.
Yeah.
Like, if he
I
had like
also, but
offered
also,
them
I've seen
30.
I've Data's alive and he's died twice, so I feel like they could bring that guy back, right? Like,
If Fred had offered him 30 bars of Latinum, he'd still be
mm-hmm.
alive.
I maybe I'm just projecting on Fred because I wanted to be good. Maybe he was like, oh, these people seem bad, and this needs to not be with them. Like, um, yeah, he was so yeah, Jill, he was so fun, and I was like, oh, like, it's like the
Oh, Rachel, we haven't even talked about the use of Starship that we have never seen before. Like I was like, oh my
Ooh.
gosh, you're like shoving starships like into sand and like
Oh
using
yeah,
like
that was a
combined force
really
fields to like stop people
cool.
from being killed. I thought
That
that
was
was
a
really
really
cool.
cool use of like very specifically like we have starships, this is what we do. And it's very funny to me watching them do that. And then knowing the original series has transporters because they couldn't afford to show a ship landing. Like but that is like also like it's very clever in a way that like it makes sense in the sci-fi world. I was like, oh yeah, that
Hmm.
totally makes sense. They would use their force field to stop that avalanche that's coming.
Now, I mean, I was totally thinking that the ships would have like structural damage because it seems that like they aren't designed like
Yeah, they did.
for
I like that they
that.
were at least like the next episode they're like cleaning the ship. They're like, yeah, getting all that sand everywhere sucked.
Yeah, like sands and everything. Just like
Yeah.
yeah.
So thinking of the other Star franchise, and where Anakin just being like sand.
But I
Again.
did think that use of the starships was interesting. Like
Hmm.
I it's like, oh, I had no idea that you could use a starship to like block a landslide that way.
Yeah, that
Like
was. I
cool.
don't know that they did either. They were like, well, we gotta hope this works. And I like, yeah, I like that there were consequences for that. One with Rayner's thing, his like court martial thing. Um, I also like it made me like Rayner more that when Michael was trying to be, trying to be the good like good fellow officer, not just throw him under the bus. That he was like, go ahead, just tell them like you disagreed at the time.
Yeah, yeah, I
And then he
did.
was like right back into fighting with her, but he was like, no, like you're fine.
Mm.
Yeah, there's yeah, they're like, yeah, Discovery's a little dusty right now. Like
No
they
pun
threw it
intended.
into a
Oh, pun
desert.
intended.
Or flew it into a desert is probably a better like a dog getting out of the shower.
But yeah, I love this 32nd century tech and the detachable
Hmm.
nacelles.
I and also like this might have been in the second episode where they're like, oh, we don't even use wires anymore. Paul's like, I'm a pack rat. I still have wires, and I was like, as someone who still has like a bunch of things where I'm like, why do I still have this? Like, I just got a new phone, and I don't, and it needs a new cord, and now I still have a bunch of the old ones, and I was like, I don't know what to do with these.
Oh no. Oh, well, you mean
I got a
well,
new iPhone, and so it went from the old Lightning one to the USB C, which is
mm.
better because like I already had USB C, and it's better for everything to charge. But
Well, you can get little connectors that will convert Lightning to USB-C.
oh, that's maybe
You
I'll
could
have to
do
do. I
that,
just
you know,
don't want to
rather than
waste
throw
those
away your
things.
cord.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. I'm trying to think what else. Oh, he had. So apparently, it did preserve those shoulder pads because we know Romulans don't just have those shoulders. Those are just their fashion choices. That's just a decision they're making during that time period. I feel like it only really got lost because Romulus blew up. Like,
you know, I like Tilly, but I also feel like now her thing isn't like I feel like she needs to grow up and become bit more mature and like less awkward. Like I feel like she's been in like all these like pressure packed
see,
situations. Like she knows like all this stuff. Like she's an instructor now. She's like giving people all these like instructions and things. Like I feel like she shouldn't seem so bumbly
see,
now.
I'm still awkward, and I'm 30, so I'm like, yeah, that tracks to me.
Rachel, you're not awkward.
I well, congrats. Well, I guess congrats for me for hiding it.
Mm, mm, mm,
No, I kind of get it. And I also feel like maybe her not being the most self assured person in the world is probably what makes her a good teacher.
mm,
Because I feel like the people who are super confident and are like, I'm always right, don't actually make good teachers because then they don't, like, they can't relate to a student who's struggling.
mm.
Um, I, yeah, and I don't know, I find Tilly relatable. Just as someone who's also watching since season one, I've been like, I have decided that Tilly has ADHD. This has never been confirmed, but you can't prove to me otherwise. I also I loved her hair. Her bangs look so cute.
Oh, Chili's hair was great
Yeah.
today.
I
Yeah.
yeah, no, I feel like especially if Tilly, as we are all, I think we're all in agreement, it seems like Tilly's going to be in the um Academy show. I think it would make sense for her not to be as like, if she's going to be the main character, you want her to have somewhere to grow to.
Mhm.
So you don't want her to be like the most self-assured character in the world, because where will she go if she's going to be the main
Mm,
character of the next show?
mm,
Yeah.
mm. Totally, totally. Mhm.
The mystical land of Radio Shack.
The
I
planet that they
mhm.
went to in the second episode was so beautiful. Like
I
when they
know. Like even they were
landed
like,
and they were like
it's so
looking at the
pretty.
castle, looking at the castle. I was like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, this is so amazing.
I was like, I want to take a vacation there. I was trying to murder them. Okay. Like
that's why it's uninhabited. Like nobody's there because like yeah. Mm.
ooh, I like that, Paul, about like her embracing her curly hair is like the least control. um I don't know. I also love that they just let Mary Wiseman have just like her super curly hair, because often my hair is not the same type of curly as Mary Wiseman, but it is like curly, and since people are like, just straighten it, it's easier, and I was like, I don't want to do that.
What,
um
straightening your hair? You said is easier than
oh yeah, people will
having
tell
curly
me when
hair?
I'm like, trying to do stuff to my hair, people were like, it would be easier if you just straightened it, and I was like, but I don't want to do that.
Mm. Is your hair curly now?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty short right now, so it's hard to tell. It's
Okay.
also significantly curly in the underneath layers.
Okay. I was gonna say
um
I like your haircut. It looked short. I just couldn't
Thanks.
tell.
Yeah, it's pretty short right now. It's like
Hmm.
here.
It's good. It's about to be hot, girl. Like yeah.
I tend to like wait a long time, and my hair was like down to here when I got it cut, and I tend to
Hmm.
just be like, drastic haircut if I'm gonna spend this money.
Yeah. I mean, what was your hair? I mean, what was it like? $200?
I found someone like 100, which is
Okay.
good for curly hair. Curly
Because I
haircuts
would
are
feel like
expensive,
ladies stuff is like more expensive. Like it's like
especially curly hair. Because
yeah.
this is a fun fact: curly and like ethnic hair is not taught in standard beauty school. That's like an add-on, basically, you can
Hmm.
get, and I don't know why that's not. There are many, many women with like textured hair, and so that's why it ends up costing more, because people have to go and get extra training for it, so they have spend more money
You
to
know,
get
so the
trained.
hot new thing here, like people say, is to go to the Brazilians. You know,
Interesting. Yeah.
yeah. And I feel like Brazil, like people say that like Brazilians, like they have like the Brazilian shops have like a lot of like expertise in all kinds of hair because like Brazil is so diverse. So
Yeah, that
you can
makes
like
sense.
go to the Brazilian place and have like any kind of hair and they know how to do
Yeah.
it. They're like.
Father also feels by the curly hair. I also just it harder to tell. I have very thick hair too. So in the summer in Texas it gets annoying, and then I will never have it so short I can't throw it up in a ponytail if I need to, because it needs to be able to get off my neck. That is a very good question, because I do have a good like hair team. obviously working.
They do. They do. Like Michael and Owo are killing it on those braids. Like they're
Mm-hmm.
doing like serious like statements on black hair. Like they've been killing it.
I like, especially because I know because of actors talking about it that often black women have like a ton of trouble with like hair and like hair on sets. And I was like, I feel like that can't, I mean, like everyone looks so good. I feel like that can't be the case on the set.
Yeah, they have some good likely African American stylists.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It
But I mean that's
no.
important. Look at all the black people on Discovery.
Yeah. Like
Yeah,
exactly.
you have
It
to
like it
have
also
people
it
who
makes
know
sense
how
that
to
maybe you'll
light
have to
black
hire a
faces.
couple hair people to deal with different types of hair.
Hmm. Hmm.
I mean, I assume that well, one they have like a lot of people on that cast. I feel like they would have to have more than one. Um, what?
So yeah, I
Yep.
felt like I told you that I only watched an episode and a
Yeah.
half, and I'll finish watching the second episode. But the first episode and the second episode felt so different to me. Like the first one was like so action packed, and it was like great to see everyone, and like I was
See,
watching the second episode, but I was also like on Twitter also. Like
see,
it felt
I
like
feel like
more
the second.
like.
How? Because there's like some action packed stuff in like the second. How far did you get in the second episode?
So when so I got to about when Michael was like, "Oh, there's nothing like unusual on this planet," and then
Mm-hmm.
the
Yeah.
things came out, and she was like, "Oh, there is something unusual on this planet," and that's where I stopped.
Okay, you literally paused it right before it was about to get action packed. Yeah, like
Oh,
that's. I was like, there's a fight scene, like a pretty big one in the second.
oh,
That's the
oh,
unusual.
wow.
It's about there's about to be some action.
Oh wow, oh wow.
Yeah,
So what? So do our criminals get their comeuppance?
not yet.
I mean, you can like I
I
love
would say
spoilers.
no. The planet tries to attack them,
Right, right, right.
and then
Mm.
they're having to do like they're having to figure out how to stop the things that are attacking them, and they can only temporarily stop it. So they're like racing against the clock to do like what they need to do.
Mhm. Mhm. But so the thing is, like Discovery, like the show, like likes to try to take big swings. Like
Mm-hmm.
I really hope that like they don't find like the source and like of life like at the end of this season. I really hope that they don't. Like,
I don't know. I mean, we know. I mean, it's been a second. I should rewatch the chase. We know what the progenitors were about.
hmm.
So are they looking for them? Like,
So like okay, so the Romulan guy 800 years ago
mhm.
like found a machine that was the progenitors, and
Yeah.
he wrote like that little book that the that Fred was flipping through.
Mm-hmm.
Um, see now I gotta watch the progenitors episode.
Yeah. It's been a while since I've watched the chase. I need to rewatch it. That is a fun like Indiana Jones like they're like a, there's a chase going on. I don't. Yeah. There's a reason it's called that.
Mm,
Um. So that's what I feel like. I'm getting like that vibe from it so far,
mm,
which yeah, I think are they looking for the tech of the progenitors? So I guess we've already found the people who created all life. They did that in TNG, and now we're looking for
mm.
them again. I think. Um,
But I hope that they don't find it. Like I don't know. I feel like a lot of times like there's just like no real like reason or like a meaning of life. Like there's just like billions upon billions of us, and there'll be like billions upon billions more. You should just like enjoy the little blink of time that you have, and like that's the whole point of it all.
hmm I mean, I guess it's hard because since they've already done the progenitors. I guess they've said like, "Hey, we discovered there was no more life like us out there, so we made more." That was like the vibe. And I think that was the explanation for why everything's humanoid.
Mm, right.
Yeah.
Everything's kind of just like in
Yeah.
their image,
It
kind
has
of but
nothing to do with
different.
the fact that humans are playing all of those characters. It is not. It has nothing to do with the fact till like this show we're watching right now, all the aliens were like people in makeup.
So now I feel like I don't remember seeing the person, but I saw the person on Twitter. I feel like Discovery was getting dragged for like a Cardassian that was in one of these shows. Did you see that
I
person?
I saw them on Twitter. I did not see them in this episode. I also feel like that Cardassian looks fine.
That Cardassian looked fine to me too.
Like
Like,
it looked like it was just not Marco Lima. It wasn't an actor you're used to seeing Cardassian makeup on.
mm-hmm.
The makeup looked the same, roughly, except maybe you're used to seeing Deep Space Nine in like SD instead of HD.
Mm. Maybe it was just like fake news and it was made up and it was like just to like make
Yeah,
people who like hate new Star Trek
I
hate
don't.
new Star Trek even more. That
Okay,
Cardassian looks
does it?
background.
Oh, it's season 3. Okay, I was like, I don't remember seeing that Cardassian in either of these 2 episodes.
I, I don't remember seeing the Cardassian either,
Yeah.
but when I saw it on Twitter, it
It
didn't look bad to
also
me.
it also that Cardassian's makeup. So that was just like a background person. That Cardassian's makeup is definitely on par with background Cardassians on Deep Space Nine.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They just had them hanging out in the background. They always spend more time doing like Mark Alima's makeup because he's gonna be talking, and like they'll like do a nicer version of the makeup. It's like on Buffy where there was 2 versions of the vampire makeup, and it was whether someone had lines or not. Which version they got, because the other one was much like faster to put on, but it was like you had to talk with a lisp when you had it on.
Mm-hmm. I love the Cardassians. You know,
Oh,
like
I
they
do
were
too.
so
I
good in
I would love to see
DS9.
more
Like,
Cardassians in
mhm.
any show that would like to show them.
I wonder how they'll be now. Like, I mean, because I feel like in Deep Space Nine, like they
Yeah,
had like the big war, and like, so many of them were killed, and like their leadership had changed. Like, I wonder if like became like less warlike and things.
I definitely could see the Cardassians going that way. And yeah, exactly.
But
No
they're
one.
very arrogant, though. I mean, so I don't know. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, and also there would be there would be as much, yeah, like people like humans have birthmarks and shit, and like why wouldn't like aliens have different like stuff
Mm,
going on?
yeah,
Um,
their ridges would be different and stuff. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
I well, I was gonna point out, but I have makeup on, so I look a birthmark right here. So, um,
So, have we seen Klingons in Discovery since like the Klingons that look to like way different like in earlier seasons?
I
Since like
don't.
Laurel and them, have we
Yeah,
seen Klingons in
I
Discovery
don't.
now?
I don't know, but I'm not positive. If someone wants to correct me on that, and yes, Relic is half Cardassian. And honestly, okay, this is my big Discovery hot take. Once they have hair in season 2, I don't think the Klingons look that different.
No, they didn't.
Like, it was basically that they were bald, which was weird.
Yeah. But there were also the Klingons in that first season that had like those like elongated heads and stuff, like
Mm-hmm.
with like the alien heads. Dude, that was crazy. But I
Maybe
liked
their
them. I
hair,
thought they looked so cool. Like I
maybe the
thought,
hair was just hiding that in the past.
I thought that Takuvma looked so cool. Like
Oh,
he
the
was
human
like
did look cool.
black.
Yeah.
Like I just thought he looked so
Mm-hmm.
cool.
I Oh, apparently they said 32nd century Klingons are coming, so that would be interesting. It'd be interesting if they just look completely different, and everyone on Discovery is like, "What happened?" I
Hmm
But also, I find it so weird. Klingons like often look so different. I mean, look at the first Klingons. It's not a good look.
With the first Klingons with like the little mustache.
Yeah, it's not a good
Like,
look.
yeah,
It
for
does not
real.
look like an alien. It looks like,
Yeah,
well,
it looks like a character of
yeah.
a people. Like, yeah.
Takufma is really fun to say.
Yeah,
That is
Takuma
also
is really
true.
fun to. It is really fun to say Takuma.
Like, what happened to the Q? I feel like the Q were still out there, but are just Picard's not around, so he's bored. Doesn't care.
They only concerned about Picard. Like they're
No,
nowhere
there
else.
are other Q out there. They're probably infighting again.
Oh wow,
That's
where would a
fair.
Q take Michael Burnham? Oh wow.
Um, yeah, that makes sense. That like there would be a ton of diversity in Klingons and what they look like, what's going on with them. Maybe they are. Maybe the Q are like maybe there's like some like humans that are like super far away because of the bird, and maybe the Q are hanging out with them.
Hmm, hmm.
They don't know they can come back yet now. So like,
Oh, I forgot about the burn. So how long was the burn? I mean, the burn wasn't like 800 or 900 years, was it? No.
no, maybe 100. I want to say, but I would have to look that up.
Okay.
Okay, season 3 says a Q hasn't been seen in 600 years. I also feel like a Q maybe could have been seen and no one knows that it was a Q, though.
Mm-hmm. Oh wow,
Yeah,
Q hadn't been seen in 600 years. Oh wow.
that is maybe they did get bored after Picard. Like the bird was around 120 years ago. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so it was like my around 100 was a little off, but not that bad.
But yeah,
Um,
I mean, I feel like they even could have just like stretched the season out and like drip fed us. Like I didn't really need 2 episodes. Like I thought that first one was
I
great. Like I want to go and watch it again even before I finish the second one because it just made me feel so good.
I don't know why they did 2 episodes. Cause maybe at the like premiere they just had, like the fan premiere they just had. I mean, not the one that was in Austin, because that one
Hmm.
they only played one. They only played the first one at that. Maybe they played both there. I don't know. Maybe they want to come back with a bang, so they want 2 episodes. I guess like with Rainer, it kind of made sense because you got his through line of like hotshot captain becoming her first officer. That's all like his through line all happens there.
Hmm.
So now he's like just part of the ship now.
Rainer is also kind of unprofessional. Like when
Yeah,
Michael was like surfing like on the ship, and like Rainer's ship was like over top of the other ship, and there was like the warp bubble,
yeah.
and and like Michael was like, "Oh, like don't do this thing," you know, and
Hmm.
Rainer was like, "Oh, Michael, like I heard about you, like don't tell me crap," or something like that.
I
Um,
also every time someone's like, "I've heard about you, Michael," I'm always like, "But it's still like a secret that she came from the past, right?" Like, I don't think you know everything about her, actually.
he's, he's like, oh, like I heard that what you did to Georgia like 900 years
Yeah.
ago. Like,
Although I almost wonder if like people talked about her mutiny now, and she'd be like, if they would all be like, "Oh no, the Klingons were always gonna attack. The war's not your fault because they have a lot more experience with Klingons than
mm,
the like characters of the first season of Discovery." Because all the fans were like, "The Klingons were always gonna attack." Like
mm, mm.
it is very Raiders. Oh, now you're making me want to go watch Raiders of the Lost Ark. This is
What
the end of
the-
episode 2. Is the Raiders, Mal, and Locke have half a clue to a location. Michael has both halves and knows the real location. They're digging in the wrong place. It's, which is a line from Raiders of the Lost Ark. I love Indiana Jones, and I love fun adventure. Like, send me on a chase.
Oh
Let's go.
wow. Oh wow.
So this season seems like it's gonna be very up my alley. Um, weird clues they have to put together to like find something at the end where it's like the journey is most of it. Like, yes,
Yeah, this is gonna be an
yeah,
interesting interesting chase.
yeah. Very, very, very of the same vein, but Indiana Jones, like, or oh my god, my brain, or National Treasure, that kind of. Um, I'm hoping they'll have a. Oh no, we've reached a dead end, and we never, and like we'll never know. And oh no, we found it now. Um, there'll. I believe I made the joke during one of these that there'll be a map on the back of the Kinema Accords. That's which I still think is a very good joke.
Going back to Fred, I did like love how Fred was like thumbing through like reading so fast.
Oh yeah.
That like reminded
Also
me of
very
Data.
Data.
Ooh, Data used to do that. Like he was
Yeah.
like,
I did think that was a really fun way to have them so they both have the information, is that they have the memory, so they have the diary, and then Mock and Law have the physical diary.
I did like that. I was like, oh, that's how Fred came into use.
Yeah, that's why Fred's useful, where I was just like, but no, keep Fred.
They just like watching the video. Like,
Like, oh, here's this man's last memories before he was murdered. Like, I also really liked this. Was just they never said whether she went find out if he has family that we need to inform. But I was like, I like that they just assumed that the android has family.
yeah, yeah,
That's cute. Maybe Fred has a wife, husband. Who knows?
Who knows? I mean, but all those thugs that he hired, those could be his family.
That they also seem dead. So, if those were his family, there's no one to inform. Unfortunately,
I'd imagine that there were probably a couple of thugs that were off that day.
Mm-hmm.
Like they had just finished their shift. Like he's probably guarded like all the time.
Oh, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple people that are gonna show up to work and be like, "Oh, think I need a new job."
And then you're like walking, like you see all the bodies. You're like,
Oops. I gotta go. Do you think this has anything to do with the sandstorm thing that just happened?
I was also thinking with like that approaching landslide, we could see that the people were grateful after the ships like blocked it.
Yeah.
I was just surprised that they like didn't look like they were doing anything. Like it seems like people who live in that kind of atmosphere, like at the very least, they have sandstorms.
Yeah, but
They live around mountains. They've seen rock slides. They would know how to like jump into holes to avoid things like that.
But I didn't get the thing. Most things don't, like, rock slides are usually a couple of rocks. People aren't usually trying to start avalanches. And, like, people die in avalanches all the time. Like,
yeah, they do.
Like, unfortunately, they're not, I don't think they're that easy to, like, I don't know that there's much you could do about it. Like, if, like, it came, I don't know that jumping in a hole would do anything. It would be like how they taught you to duck and cover to hide from a nuclear bomb.
There would just be so much material over you that you would just like you couldn't get out of it anyway.
Yeah. Or like it might just land in the hole and crush you. Horrific way to die. Let's be honest. Like,
but the visual of the ships
The visual's
Like,
so good.
oh, wasn't it good?
It also, I liked it showing how, like, the good work Starfleet and the Federation is doing. Like, hey, look, we come and save. It's a little bit our fault. That was Raynor's thing. It's Raynor's fault. It's not Michael or Books. They were like, don't shoot at that. Like,
Rainer, loose cannon.
yeah, he's gotta be reined in. I started saying it, and I was like, oh no, it's fun. Okay, what? I was trying to think what else. It's just so much to talk about because there's 2 episodes. I hope. I also, you haven't seen this. There was a really sweet moment at the end of the 2nd episode with Saru and Michael.
Oh, you know what? I did see that. That was the part where he said that you're a force, and you.
Maybe that's.
But somehow I heard forest fire.
I don't know
But
how. When they were like in his room, and apparently they're leaving those plants there.
oh
They
no, it
had a
must have
couple.
been.
They had a couple of moments.
They had a couple of moments.
Okay.
Yeah, they had a
Also,
couple of
apparently, I do want to ask. Apparently, they're leaving his plant room there, on Discovery, and I was like, oh, okay. I assumed he was going to take those with him.
Who's gonna go in there? Isn't it really hot in there too?
Well, they implied Michael is gonna, because he gave her some advice about the plant, so I assume Michael's gonna go in there and water them, which I think is very sweet. You know, probably good for her. Needs to have something that's not just like the ship is gonna blow up. He said something about not touching one of the plants when it's in bloom, and she said Tilly warned me, and I was like, what the hell happens with this plant?
I'm gonna miss
and I'm pretty sure
swag.
I only remembered that much of that line because I tend to notice, since Bloom's my last name, I tend to notice when people say Bloom because I'm like, what? Oh, right, it's a word. I think the same way. Like, if also someone says Rachel and I'm not really paying attention, I look up and I'm like, what? Oh, it was the TV. I assume you have a similar thing if someone says Braxton. You're like, huh?
But nobody ever says Braxton except when they're talking to me. So
I guess
like,
it's a more unusual first name than.
Yeah, I have a well, I mean, my name isn't unique. Like I've met 2 other Braxtons.
I would say Rachel's a very common name though. And Bloom's a word. So like people say it.
Yeah. There's probably like hundreds of Rachel Blooms.
I mean there's a famous one. Like
Oh, there is. Yeah.
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 I mean, I was born in 1993, and Friends started in 1992, and has a main character named Rachel. Like, that's a pretty good indicator that Rachel's a. This is a true story. I once in college, I was waiting for a professor to like show up to class, and I was sitting on a bench with 2 other girls, and we're talking to a guy in front of us, and he asked. I did not know either of these girls. He asked what our names were, and all 3 of us said Rachel. And we looked at each other and went, what? We all took our IDs out, and one spelled it differently, but like we were all 3 named Rachel.
But but Rachel is a Bible name, so like
it is a biblical name.
like there's just gonna be a lot of people named Rachel just because
it's a biblical,
it's a Bible name.
Although when someone was surprised I was Jewish, and I was like, my name is like Hebrew, my last name's Bloom, I've got the big curly hair, I'm not a big. I was like, nothing about this should be surprising. Like, in fact, although funnily enough, Bloom, my dad's last name, he was not the Jewish dad of my family, but my mom thought he was Jewish when she met him. And she already liked him by the time she figured it out. She was like, oh, okay. What else? Now I'm like opening. I also think it's very cute that Admiral Vance is helping his daughter with her homework. I think maybe you didn't see that.
I didn't see that.
Sorry.
Well, how old is his daughter?
You saw her at the end of season 3.
Is she like a real young child? Or is she like
No,
a
he says
tween?
he says he's helping her with geometry, so I'm gonna guess she's probably like
15.
yeah, 14, 15, something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
That's funny, Joel. Yeah. It's Hebrew names tend to be fairly popular because they're also just like biblical names a lot of the times.
Mm-hmm.
Um that's like, Rachel.
I mean, Michael, like
Yeah, exactly.
John. You like, yeah.
Um
Paul. There's just a ton of those.
and there are ones that are less popular, but then those are the ones where I'm like, "Oh, you're definitely Jewish," because I don't think any other first.
Like what?
Oh, like my uncle's name is Ronnie, Roni. Um and he actually legally changed his name to Ron, but everyone in America always assumed his name was a nickname for Veronica, so he would get like he got pamphlets for like women's dorms, like when he was applying
Mm.
for college,
Because they see
because
Ronnie.
Ronnie is, yeah,
R
the
and
nickname for
I.
Veronica.
Yeah.
Um,
Is that that's a Bob a name that's in the Bible?
oh, it's a Hebrew name.
Oh, okay, okay, okay,
I don't think Ronnie's in the Bible.
okay.
He usually goes by Ron now. I call him Uncle Ronnie because
Mm.
he's my uncle, and I'm not. He doesn't get a choice in that, I guess.
Mm-hmm,
But um, yeah, but that one, like if I heard that name, I'd be like, oh, you're definitely like, because it's just a very Hebrew name.
mm. Mm, mm,
Oh, that was trying to read that. You're taught geometry. There is that that episode of TNG where they steal all the children, including Wesley. But there's like one, and that child is learning math and like advanced math, and I was like, "That's math you learn in high school. Why is this young child, like this 9-year-old, learning it?" I was like, "How smart are they? I don't understand." Yes, Stan is getting started with the salon soon, so it's probably a good time to start wrapping up, so people can head over that way.
We go and
Any
join Stan.
any last thoughts about the 2 episodes?
So, I'm looking forward to watching the second episode, but I think that Disco season 5 got off to a great start in season 1. Like I said, I loved catching up with the crew. It was like catching up with some old friends that you haven't seen in a few years. Like
Yeah,
everybody looked great, and I am up for this adventure.
we actually have not seen them in a few years,
No, we
so
haven't. No, we haven't.
I yeah, I agree. Yes, thank you. It's calculus in that episode of TNG, and I'm like, why is this child learning calculus? I also love these episodes. I am always up for a fun like I'm always up for a fun adventure, and I love these characters so much. And it's so weird though having this is the Discovery is the first Trek show I ever watched live. I had been a fan of Star Trek for like a decade when it came out, but like it hadn't Star Trek hadn't been on the air for like 10, 11 years. And so it's very weird to have the first Star Trek show I remember watching live ending. But I'm really looking forward to the uh really looking forward to seeing how the rest of the season goes. Um yeah, so I think uh that's it from me. Anything you want to plug, Braxton?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I will see you soon. Hopefully, I'm looking forward to the salon. I'm
Yeah,
looking
and
forward to Father E's show. I'm looking forward to catching up with Sahel
yeah,
later this
it'll be fun
weekend.
having people back talking about Star Trek. It's been so long in general since we've had any new Trek.
Oh my gosh, it's been like 5 months. Like I've been starved. Like I was watching Discovery today, and I was just smiling and smiling and
I'm
smiling.
like,
It was like I'm eating good. I'm
and I'm like,
eating good.
new Star Trek, yay! Okay, I will. Yeah, see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye. It did not. It did not end the stream. Okay.